So, Miss Melly Germany 9479, I'd say you have roughly about 24 more hours to give me an answer to the question I've been repeatedly asking you about, whether or not you're in any way associated with any individuals or groups of individuals that engage in child abuse, ritual child abuse, child trafficking, incest, or any other actions of that nature. Before I do block you from my channel, or I'll block you from the channel, and before I do that, I wanted to tackle this one very lengthy comment. As per usual, another freaking essay of a comment here. I am going to break this one up into probably at least 2 or 3 different videos. But I would like to start actually with the one down here, with the paragraph down here. So I'm going to take it paragraph by paragraph, and we're going to start at the end and work our way backwards. So let's just read this one. There is no suggestion that one twin kills the other when vanishing twin syndrome occurs. The information states that one twin simply dies early in pregnancy, the most common cause of death being fetal chromosomal abnormalities. In twin pregnancy, when one fetus dies, it usually does not get expelled but is reabsorbed into the mother's uterus and the surviving twin. Absorption happens naturally as a consequence of one twin having died. There is absolutely no suggestion anywhere that one twin kills the other. So no, if we grant fetuses full personhood from conception, we do not have to worry about the implications of in utero homicide. Again, so right there, the information, the second statement down in the paragraph, the information states that one twin simply dies early in pregnancy. Again, what information? Where are you getting your sources from? Because I asked that because, again, keep in mind, I've already stated this, I'm not going to go digging too much for information and facts to debate you because I don't want you taking up too much of my time, but I asked here, I just typed this into Google, can a living fetus be absorbed? There we go. And here's the AI overview. It says, yes, a living fetus can be absorbed by the mother or other fetuses in a process called vanishing twin syndrome. Now, for a second I was like, well, maybe the AI means it could have been a living fetus at one point and then died and then was reabsorbed. So I asked it a different way just to be on the safe side. Again, I know this is the Google AI bot, but right here, I asked, can a fetus be reabsorbed before it dies? And it says, yes, a fetus can be reabsorbed before it dies, a process known as fetal resorption. So, and here's the thing. Nobody, as far as I can tell, nobody really knows one way or the other. I think the overall assumption is that the fetus has died before it's been reabsorbed. Well, one thing that I read, I read a little bit more than just what the Google AI bot came up with, at the very top of the Google search. I read into it a little bit more. But one thing that I read said that just all the fetus had to do was stop developing. Not necessarily that it died, it just stopped developing. So is it possible that a fetus can stop developing for whatever reason, but not be dead and then get reabsorbed because the mother's body and the other fetus are like, well, that's not really, that's a false start, or he's not going anywhere. So might as well use the extra protein or something. And so to speak, in so many words. And the other thing is, nobody really knows for sure, as far as I can tell, if So if this is the case, please point me in the direction of the information that that talks about this. But, and keep in mind, I've been pregnant before, so I know a thing or two about what happens at different stages of pregnancy. Nobody has ever kept track of a woman's pregnancy every single second of every single day. As far as I know, as far as I can tell. Again, if there's some bit of information out there, if they did some kind of weird case study or something where they just constantly watched a developing fetus inside of a woman during the course of her pregnancy, please do point me in the direction of that information. But I know personally during my pregnancy with my daughter, for the first few months, in fact, for the first roughly 2 trimesters, I only was scheduled to go in and see the doctor, the nurse practitioner. Really, it was just nurses. They were nowhere to, the doctor and nurse practitioner were nowhere to be found. They just sent RAs and nurses to do their jobs for them. However, anyway, I was only scheduled to go in to have my growing fetus baby checked on once a month. And then that became a bit more frequent as I got into the 3rd trimester. And once we got down to the last month, it was every week. So those are large gaps of time between, people checking on the baby or the fetus. And even then, most of those visits were just, they would check for a heartbeat, they would measure my belly, they would measure my own weight. They weren't, breaking out some kind of contraption, the sonogram or something, and having a real look at the child, right? At the baby. So the point I'm making here is nobody really knows for sure. How could anyone possibly know for sure unless we take a woman and from the point of conception somehow watch, and she has to conceive twins, and then we have to somehow watch the 2 fetuses every second of every day. And then, of course, the twin reabsorption syndrome thing, that has to take place, right? And then we'd have to see, does the fetus die? Does it actually die before it's reabsorbed? Or does it stay alive and then get reabsorbed for whatever reason? I think just the overall, the assumption being made, and I'll give you this, it's a reasonable assumption to make, but the assumption being made is that the fetus dies before it's reabsorbed. But we don't know that for sure. It is possible that living fetuses have been reabsorbed. Perhaps, again, simply because they stopped developing. That does not necessarily mean that they died. So, yeah. Where are you getting your information from? But, yeah, I think that covers, that's all I really needed to say to cover this part of your comment. Nice try, though. You almost had me for a second. For a second, I was like, damn, she got one right for once. Good on her. But then I double checked it. I just, wanted to see, do we have any cases on record of a living fetus being reabsorbed? And well, Google AI bot seems to think so. Seems to think it's possible, at least. I don't know where they're getting their information either, but, because again, I've never heard tell of a woman's pregnancy being tracked and her fetuses being watched every second of every day throughout the course of her pregnancy so that we could observe either a dead or a living fetus being reabsorbed by the mother and or the other fetus. So that's really just, again, nobody actually really knows for sure, as far as I can tell. If there's information out there saying otherwise, I can understand how they will jump to the conclusion jumped to the assumption that the fetus died, and there is some stuff out there that says, the fetus is reabsorbed when it dies. But again, I've also read some things that the fetus is simply reabsorbed when it stops developing. It doesn't necessarily die. And just, again, nobody can know for sure. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if there's information proving me wrong about this. But, all right, I think I've, as far as I've seen, in utero sibling homicide is still possible. And it also doesn't change the fact that, the other point I was making, which is if something can be absorbed, that suggests that it's not a fully fledged human being yet. It can just be absorbed by, I'm not sure, I haven't looked into the process of the reabsorption, but I'm thinking it's something along the lines of, roughly just by touch. If a human being can absorb it just through touch, essentially, then it's probably not another human being. I'm not talking about like mold and stuff. It's possible like mold and things like that, fungi can absorb stuff just by touching it, by being just in physical contact with it. But I'm not sure. It seems to me that some part of the process of reabsorption, absorption, when it comes to a fetus that's in a human being, a woman, it seems to be just that it can almost be just by touch, by physical contact. Because again, we've found surviving twins with tumors on their bodies that have the remnants, the physical bodily remnants of their vanished twin. Little teeth and stuff like that. So, if you can, I'm sorry, if the mother can absorb it just by being in physical contact with it, if a human woman can absorb it just by being in physical contact with it, it suggests that it's not a human being. It's not developed enough to be considered a human being, at the very least. Because I don't know about you, I've never gone up to a grown man, who's been birthed from his mother's body for decades, years or decades, or even, I've never gone up to even a birthed baby boy. I've held baby boys, but I'm not sure I could possibly reabsorb them just through physical touch. That would freak me out. That would make me think something was wrong with me or something was wrong with the baby. So, yeah, that's just weird. Anyway, all right, I'm going to leave this one here. I'll probably wait until tomorrow to tackle the rest of this, or maybe the next day. I might hold off blocking you from the channel until I've tackled the rest of this comment, because I think your comments disappear if I block you from the channel, right? And I'm still doing a little tiny bit of research into some of what you said up here before I give my answer. Because these three names that you mentioned, Howard Schultz, founder of Starbucks, Ralph Lauren, or Lifshitz, that's his real name. He changed it because obviously he was getting teased about it. And then Richard Branson. I think it's interesting that you named those three, because I'm well on my way to making connections between these three people and secret societies. Some of the secret societies that I've been saying are likely connected with the secret pedophile network cult that I've been talking about in my videos on this channel. So I've been saying that the people in this network that I think engage in incest and child trafficking, child abuse, ritualized child abuse, I think that they likely hold membership in one, if not several, secret societies such as Freemasons, Order of the Dragon, Ordo Templi Orientis, whatever, Typhonian Order, what have you, Shriners. I know Zay Frank, the main suspect that I've been investigating. He has, I believe it was a grandfather or a great-grandfather who was in the Shriners. And again, they use symbols that are very similar to Freemasonry symbols, to the symbols used by these well-known secret societies. So that's one of the reasons why I think that they are in some ways connected with the secret societies. Not saying that every member of Freemasonry or anything like that is involved in this. I'm saying that these specific people seem to be involved in other secret societies. So just saying, and these three people that you mentioned here, wow. I mean, Starbucks, I've already released a few videos pointing out how the Starbucks logo itself is derived from the image of, and the folklore tale of Melusine, which is connected with the Abrasics by virtue of the two serpent legs. Okay? And these people, I've already pointed out how Zay Frank is clearly referencing the Abrasics. It's a Gnostic occulted symbol that not many people know about. Abrasax. So I think that's really interesting. You know, you're not giving me very straight enough answers about whether or not you are a member of this cult, but when you go out of your way to mention three people that, yeah, oh, and I didn't look into Branson's name yet, but so far Schultz and Lifshitz, their names are of German origin. I think Lifshitz is German and or Polish origin, and Schultz is German and or Dutch origin, something like that. And both come from Ashkenazi Jewish families, and a lot of my other suspects come from Ashkenazi Jewish families. So that's interesting. Caucasian, German descent, and also Ashkenazi Jew. That's really, really interesting. But as I've said, I haven't finished looking into Richard Branson yet. So I'm still going to do a little bit more research before I answer this comment. Until then, I guess you're safe on the channel. Don't want to block you before I tell you off for the final time, but I'm thinking I'm likely going to ignore and or just delete without even bothering to read any future comments that you leave, unless, well, no, that's not fair, because I have to read them to see if any of them are, you admitting to being a part of this cult network or denying it the proper way, the way I specified it needs to be done. So, but if it's not something along those lines, I'm probably going to end up deleting it, and then I'm just going to focus on answering this comment of yours and telling you off, and then you're going to be blocked from the channel. All right? So, all right, bye-de-bye.